No,
Okay. So today, essentially, what we are going to do is we are going to say, hey, the third equity called the individual equity. What does it mean? When two employees, two people are working in a similar role, what is that one gets, or how do we then compensate, or how are we fair enough in terms of ensuring that there is equity? For example, when we talk, there are 5 accountants who are working in the payroll department. Okay, there is this first example which I gave. There's one accountant who has to go draw cash, then drive 50 miles, then disburse cash in a remote location, and then come back. And he does this twice in a month. Now, is it fair for me to give the same salary to this accountant who does much more in terms of his job, which is over and above his job description? Yes or no? Hey guys, none of you are showing up. Can we have some on the video? Yeah. So is it fair enough, Kishan? Let's, now that Kishan is it fair enough to pay the same salary, the salary which I pay to the other accountants, to this accountant who goes, 50 miles, drives 50 miles, take the cash, disburses twice in a month, he has to do it in a remote location, then come back. Tell me, is it fair to pay the same salary? So typically, if you were the CHRO, what would you do? He's doing over and above his job description. What would you do?
Hardship allowance.
Typically, what do we need to do? Deepesh is trying to say something. Deepesh, are you trying to say something?
Yeah, we can give a hardship allowance.
Yeah, so that means I need to give him something over and above, because he's doing something over and above. He's spending effort, he's spending energy. I have to give him something. So we give him hardship. So today what we are essentially going to do is we looked at base salary, which is a guaranteed salary. Now today we are looking at the variable pays and the deferred pays. Okay, let me just go to the whiteboard. Sorry. Okay, so when we talk about variable pay, as the name suggests, it is variable. That means it varies. It is not guaranteed. Now, I want any of you to tell me what are some of the kinds of variable pays you are giving in your organization. Just name them. Let me. Anybody? Just name them. Pardon?
Incentives.
Okay, well, incentive.
PLP.
Incentive pay. All right. Okay.
Performance pay. We call it performance pay.
All right. I'm just putting it there itself.
We say OTPLR, one-time performance link reward.
Pardon?
In typical world, we in Zydus variable pay, we are saying OTPLR. It's a team reward. So OTPLR stands one-time performance link award.
Okay. So, all right. Tell me any other kind of variable pay. Anybody? What is there in your organization? Just tell me what kind of pay, variable pays are there in your organization.
ESOPs.
All right. I'm putting it as, yeah. ESOP.
Profit
Right.
sharing.
Pardon?
Profit sharing.
Okay. We have profit sharing. Okay. Anybody else? Just one more.
In one of my organization, it was simply named as variable pay.
Pardon?
In one of my previous organization, it was simply named as a variable pay. When it was the CTC sheet was total cost of the company, the fixed cost and the variable cost.
Okay.
and the retirals and everything.
Okay.
So it was simply called as a variable pay.
All right. Okay. So the most common, all right. So the most common variable pay most of you have heard is for pay for performance, right?
Yes.
Pay for performance. That means if I perform more, then I will get some amount of pay, which is variable, which is not guaranteed. It can be X amount to this month. It can vary. It can be Y amount next month. It varies. So as the name suggests, variable pay means it varies. The amount varies.
Varies.
Okay. Now, what is very, very important now? Let us start with performance pay. Now, when we talk about performance pay, the most common thing which comes to our mind is, a classical example is the sales, what we call it as commission or the incentive, right? Has everybody heard of
Yes.
sales commission or incentive? This is the most classical example we get. So, in order to motivate sales people to do more sales, what do? We'll say, hey, we have a sales commission or an incentive. That means what? This sales incentive is primarily at what? At a individual level, right? Is this at an individual level, guys? Huh? It's at a individual level. Now, what does it say? It is a planned incentive. It has a predetermined what? Target. It has a predetermined target. What does it mean? It says, if you make 100 units, if you sell 100 units, you will get certain amount of commission, X amount of commission. If you make 150 units, then what happens? You will get
X
X
plus.
X
Yes.
plus some more amount, right?
Yes.
X, X plus commission. So please pay. So what is very, very critical in this sales commission or incentive? What does it mean? You already know, if I sell this many units, I can get this much. If I sell a few more units more than this, I can sell. So you know exactly how much you want to earn. You can actually plan how much you want to earn. So this is predetermined targets. So here the targets are what? Units, right? So one kind of pay for performance is what? At an individual level, the incentive schemes which have predetermined targets. Now you can have it at an individual level. Like for example, some of you who are working in a manufacturing organization, do you know that you have something like a piece rate? Have you heard of piece rate?
Yes.
What is piece rate?
You get paid based on the number of pieces you complete.
Yeah. So in a manufacturing organization, based on past data, they will actually then set a target that these workers can make X amount of units. Then anything over and above, you get some kind of a commission. So one is at an individual level. Then the other incentive is at a group level. It's called group incentive. What are these group incentive schemes called? The most common one can be gain sharing. Have you heard of gain sharing? Last time I also mentioned about it. Gain sharing plan. Anybody who can give me a little more? What is the gain sharing plan? Who is working in a manufacturing organization or even what is it, insurance or even hospital?
Profit of a division.
Pardon?
Profit of a division.
No. So gain sharing plan is also like what an individual incentive, but this is a group incentive. Again, what happens? What is the objective of this plan? In order to increase the productivity, in order to increase the revenue, you actually create a group incentive so that there is collaboration, there is participation. So this group incentive plan caters to any location or a plant level where the productivity is dependent on a group of people. Are you with me, guys? So in order to bring about more collaboration, coordination, participation, because the productivity is dependent actually on the collaboration and participation, you actually have group incentive plans. Now, group incentive plans are also having the predetermined, what is that? We call it as predetermined measures. What are they? Can you tell me? What could be the measures here? One could be productivity, right? Then what else? You could also look at wastage.
Yeah, customer rejection.
Percentage. Then somebody said rejections, right? That is, can I say quality?
Yeah.
Right? You can also look at time frame. So depending on the outcome of that work, you actually have predetermined, what is that? We call it as predetermined measures. Now, one of the very, very important thing in a gain share planning which helps is, typically what happens, you want to look at your operating expenses in a gain sharing plan, okay? Operating expenses. Say, for example, here in your operating expenses, labor cost could be one of the biggest factor there, high percentage, 32%, 40%, or wage cost, what I call it as, we can also call it as wage cost. Now, it can also be raw material.
Or equipment.
Usage of raw materials, okay? Or ensuring, as you said, equipment, but
can we
the way
count working capital?
No. So So what I'm talking about is, say, for example, at a plant, let me give you an example. You are looking at production. Okay. Now, in that production, your wage cost is about 30 to 40%. Are you with me? 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
Now, you want to ensure that the workers or the people have to reduce the wage cost because it is very expensive and your wage cost is 30 to 40%. What if I actually ensure that they use raw materials in a way that they do not do wastage, that is wastage percentage, or there is less of rejections? Then what happens? Don't you think that then I will actually be using my raw materials, the percentage of raw materials which gets wasted gets reduced? Okay, so then you are actually creating what measures on that, saying rejection, wastage, so that all the employees who are actually included in that gain sharing plan, they will collaborate, they will participate and ensure that they are making high quality, less wastage, usage of less raw material. And if somebody said equipment, yes, Also using equipment to the extent that the processes, they understand the processes, they are very efficient in the way they are producing this. So what happens then? On the whole, you are increasing your productivity. You got it? How gain sharing plan works? Yes or no, guys? Just give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Now what happens? Unlike profit sharing, now you are sharing the what? The whatever excess with respect to the target which has been fixed is shared amongst all the employees. Okay. So what happens? Because it is a gain sharing plan, everybody collaborates so that they want to actually earn more. So that's how a gain sharing plan works. Somebody talked about profit sharing. So what is the difference between gain sharing and profit sharing? Now, profit sharing is at a organizational level. What is the difference between gain sharing and profit sharing? Anybody?
After taxes?
Now, profit sharing is something, it's like a bonus, right? I'm coming to that now. So, in incentives, what you are working, that if you make X amount, you will get so much of variable pay. If you make Y amount, you will get so much of pay. But in profit sharing, what happens? You do not know how much you are going to get. It's a bonus. It gets so at an organization level, they have made an X amount of profit. So what will they do? They will say at the end of the at the end of the year, after they have this balance sheet, profit and loss, everything, now profit before taxes, they'll say, hey, 10% or 15% of the profit we have made, we are going to share it as a percentage of their base salary across all the levels of the organization, right? So this year, if I made more profits, I will get some amount. Next year, if I made more profits at an organization level, I get another amount. So I cannot predict how much will I get as a profit. So profit sharing is essentially like a bonus. That means I cannot predict how much I can get, but it works backwards. Are you very clear about what is a bonus and what is an incentive, guys?
True. Got it.
Can anybody yeah. So bonus is something, it depends on at the end of the year, how much are you making, and then at an organization level, so you are getting certain percentage of your base salary. Okay. But in gain sharing, you can actually plan, you can work towards how much you want to make, because it's already predetermined, it is planned. And you can actually say, like, for example, a sales guy, he knows if he's going to sell a Toyota, he will get this much commission. If he's going to sell a Mercedes, he's going to get this much commission. So he can actually predict the amount he can get as a variable pay. But in profit sharing, you can't really predict. Very clear? Okay. So when we talk about pay for performance, we can do it at an individual level, at a group level, and also at an organization level. Got it, guys? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So can I just rub this?
Yes.
Now the other variable pay most of you are talking about is hardship. Can anybody give me examples of hardship? Like we talked about night shift allowance.
Remote location allowance.
Exactly.
Overtime
Yes.
payment, OT.
Yeah, absolutely. Remote. Then we're talking about overtime. Then what are some of the other allowances which in your organization I'll give?
We can pay, we can just marriage allowances, or is it come under?
Nirmala ma'am, I have a doubt.
How
come overtime can be, if it is a statutory payment, so how it can be taken as a variable or the
overtime is a
statutory payment as far as the workman is concerned?
Do you give it on a month-on-month basis?
month. If it is given, yeah, if they are doing the overtime,
The
have,
only thing it holds good is, are you giving it as a guaranteed pay month on month?
no,
No.
overtime
You
cannot
are
be guaranteed.
Yeah, you are giving it. If this month I have made so many hours of overtime, worked overtime, I'll get some amount. Next month,
Okay.
if I work for so many hours, I'll get overtime. Something which is
Yeah,
over
yeah.
and above, which is not guaranteed,
My normal
which is
working, not guaranteed.
right, contingent on
Yeah.
the overtime. So that is why it's
Overtime.
a hardship allowance. Okay, it is not
Okay.
guaranteed amount. Now, so why do you give a hardship allowance and not factor it within your base salary? Because tomorrow, if the person does not work in a night shift, or tomorrow he is not working in a remote and you have posted him back to a normal location, then you will withdraw that allowance. So it does not get factored into his base allowance, base salary, which actually then when you add it year on year, your wage cost will go up. So therefore, you have a hardship allowance. Got it, guys? Huh? Like for example, the cashier in a bank, he gets the teller allowance because he is working for 3 months or 4 months as a teller. But the moment he withdraws from the teller, then he does not get it. Now, the next allowance is called, very important, merit allowance. Now, merit allowance comes in two categories. One is called the cross skill allowance. Anybody who can tell me what is cross skill allowance?
It's a multi-skilling allowance.
Yeah, absolutely right. How do you get it? So if a person is a welder, he'll say, hey, if you are trained in a fitter, we'll give you an additional allowance. Why? They are promoting multi-skills. How does multi-skills help the organization, both the employer and the employee? How does it help the employer? Anybody?
Job pendency is removed. Job pendency is not there in absence of a person, a specific person. The person can be put on the other position also required there if he is a multi-skilled person.
So see, most of the organizations, why do they promote cross-skill allowance? It helps in turnover, right? Turnover means, for example, if people attrite, you can quickly replace it with people who are already having that. It helps in what? You don't have to have a person recruit for every skill. It helps in absenteeism. Okay. It also, from the employee perspective, it is actually upgrading himself in terms of having more skills. So employability. So it's a win-win approach for both the employer and the employee, because the employee also is able to get, he is able to get better jobs. So it enhances his own skills. And the employer doesn't have to recruit that many people for every skill. So he's able to do with few people. So during absenteeism, during attrition, so he's able to do with people if they are multi-skilled. So that's why cross-skill allowance, mostly in production, manufacturing organizations, it is promoted, and even in IT organizations, because a person who has one technology, they would also try to promote other technologies. So the organizations comes up with this, saying that if you actually get certifications, like say for example in HR, if you are most of the organizations promote, okay, get a compensation certification or a HR business partner certification, because then you are able to easily rotate people within the department. There is something called upskill. What is upskill? What is upskill allowance?
In the same area, going to the next level.
Say for example, say for example, in a financial firm, you have you have recruited commerce graduates who are doing your accountancy. Okay, then you're saying in the next 5 years, if you acquire a chartered accountant, if you become chartered accountants, then you can become managers. So you have actually having a career path, saying in 2 or 3 years time, if you get a CA part 1, you get certain allowance. Then again, in the next 5 years, if you get CA part 2, then you are getting certain allowance. So then at the end of 5 years, then you are able to then get promoted to a manager and you get a higher salary. What are they trying to do? They're trying to motivate their top performers by creating a career path and all along, and trying to say, hey, if you get these certifications or these skills along this career path, then you are able to not only get your upskill allowances, but you're also going to get a promotion. So this is what could be the strategy. It is actually a retention strategy, right? How do you retain and motivate your top performers? So most of the organizations say, for example, in a insurance or in IT companies, though they have these upskill allowance so that they're able to retain their people. Clear, guys? Yes or no? Very clear? Deepesh?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, ma'am.
Huh? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Then what we are talking about, the next one, market linked retention bonus. Have you heard of market linked incentive or retention? Or what typically it is called hot skill. And any of you working in IT organization, I'm sure you must have heard of hot skills. So what is this hot skill or market linked retention incentive? What is this? Anybody who's heard of hot skill or market linked retention incentive? No? Nobody? So in most of the IT organizations, what happens, every year there is, because of the competition, because of the dynamics, some of the skills become highly hot. Why do they become highly hot? Or what it means that the demand for certain skill sets is much more than the availability or than the supply. So when the demand increases and the supply is less, typically what happens then? Typically what happens? Tell me what happens in such a scenario. When there's a high demand for certain skills and then there's a less supply. Hey guys, tell me what happens. Amar, what happens?
There will be wage wars. There will be wage wars.
Yeah, wage wars.
Poaching.
And you can
there will
see
be
that
poaching.
They have to pay more.
There will be poaching.
Typically what happens, people keep hopping from one organization to other, trying to get higher wages, right? So in such, and does it stay for long? No, that is only it's only for some time, for 2 years, maximum 3 years. So what happens then? Organizations, they have to ensure that, hey, if this year these are the hot skills, then how do I retain those people, those employees who have these skills? So what I give actually an incentive or a bonus called a hot skill incentive or a hot skill bonus, only for that period. Say, for example, I could do it for 1 year, I could do it for 2 years. Because once the hot skill, after 2 years, again, the supply is more than the demand, then what happens? It eases. Then if I'm actually factoring it in my base salary, then I am left with continuing the salary. So therefore, I give it only till the time there is a spike. There is that spike in the environment. That is a demand. Once that spike is over, then what happens? I can withdraw that hot skill allowance. Otherwise, my wage cost keeps going up. So we talked about, guys, 4 kinds of let me just quickly go to the screen. So we talked about 4 kinds of variable pay. We talked about hardship. We talked about performance. We talked about merit. And we also talked about what? Hot skill or market linked retention incentive. Okay. Then there are some things called deferred pay. Somebody said ESOP, right? Stock options. So why do we typically give stock options? That means we want to actually retain our top performers, or we want to retain our people. So what do? We say, hey, so we will give you certain shares, but you have to vest them. They cannot be cashed immediately. The vesting period, like they could be 2 years, they could be 3 years. Typically what happens in today's times, if you know the e-commerce like Amazon, not only e-commerce, most of the IT companies, you know, they are giving stocks to most of the entry-level people as well, not necessarily the top management, because what they have started giving is so that they're able to tie in, they're able to, it's like a retention. So they are able to retain these people at least for the 2 years or 3 years. Asif is having an internet issue. All right, no problem, guys. Okay. Now, what is annuity plans? Anybody who can tell me what is an annuity plan? Kishan or Srinivas or Dipesh? Amor, what is an annuity plan?
Retirement benefit.
Superannuation.
Superannuation.
Yes, you have rightly stated. This is almost like a superannuation plan. This annuity plan is given to people typically at a middle management or a top management, just like a superannuation plan, because this helps you to what? Save on your taxes. Instead of getting the salary deducted as tax, so the organization offers something called an annuity, wherein that amount is it goes as an annuity plan rather than getting deducted in a tax, and then the company invests in LIC. So the withdrawal, that is, when can you withdraw that amount? You can actually get it when you leave the organization 50%, and then when you retire, typically then they give you the rest of the amount. It actually operates typically like a superannuation. I can actually mail it at the end of the day. Somebody is having a Wilma, someone is having an internet issue. Problem, guys. Are you able to hear me? I hope.
Yeah, very much audible and
Yes,
visible.
you're audible.
Okay, only Asif is having a problem. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay, so retention bonus. What is retention bonus? And to whom is it offered?
Retain the top performers, usually.
So what happens? Not only top performers, typically in organizations, you have some critical positions. Okay?
Critical positions.
Right. So across the organization, not necessary to give only for the top
Even
management.
for entry level positions, we do retention bonus.
Not entry level, you will not give any. See, retention is not given to typically entry level people. Typically, retention bonus is given to 5 or 10% of those positions which are very, very critical. And you know, your product and services are highly dependent on them. So therefore, if those positions, if those guys leave, then it becomes highly impossible for you to actually continue to deliver product and services. So what happens, in order to ensure their continuity, you tie them in at least maybe for 2 years or 3 years. Because what happens as a plan, you don't want to continue all the time to give them retention bonus. You will shadow them with some kind of a succession planning, but still to ensure. So retention plan is managed in such a way that if you are giving a retention bonus, you know, you will give it at least for 3 years or 4 years, and he has to stay for those 3 years or 4 years, and the last, so you give certain percentage, but the maximum percentage is given in the last phase, so that he does not leave the organization. That is what motivates him. Because if you give them, typically how, if it is a 3 year, you give him 20%, 25%, and the rest of it in the last year. It is essentially to retain your key people. Okay, it is essentially to retain your key people. It is not given for everybody. Got it, guys? Okay. All right. Okay. Now, you have very interesting case. So you will be quickly doing that. And before you do that, let me just give you okay. So typically when we are designing an incentive plan, anybody, when we are designing an incentive plan, the first and the most important thing is the intent. What is it? Intent. What do we mean by intent? It is the purpose behind why do we want to have this incentive plan. Okay. Now, like for example, I can have a sales incentive plan. Why will I have what is the intent? To increase my revenue or increase what the sales. From the HR perspective, I can say, hey, to reduce attrition, right? So I need to have very, very clearly what is my intent. So this is what, state clearly the intent. The next, in the design considerations, the next step is, what is the criteria? What is the criteria for this incentive plan? Okay. I will actually go to the Excel sheet and explain to you. And then we need to know what is the measurement criteria. How are we going to measure? What are the measures or the metrics for this incentive plan? And then what is the percentage of payout for this variable pay? Let us quickly, and you will have to do this, guys. We have an exercise also to do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. 1 second. Okay, let me okay. Okay, guys, can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you take a picture of this? And of course, I'll keep this. How many are there? How many participants are there? Vilma?
There are
4, ma'am.
4.
4 participants. Then we can have a small group of 4 people, right? Huh? Okay, we can have a small group of 4 people, right? So this is a case study, small case study, where you need to create a pay for performance or a incentive plan. Now, Intercom Private Limited is a handset retail store operating in different cities. Now, this retail store has, this chain has 30 salespeople who are responsible for sales and revenue. And the store has high margins. So in these handsets, there are also branded handsets and non-branded. So the margins are very high in non-branded and low margins in the non-branded. Then the people are actually not customer focused. Then they tend to sell more of the non-branded because, it's easy to sell. Then they are actually not very time oriented, and they also tend to shut the shop quickly. They lack teamwork, and there's also a lot of attrition among the super performers. Now you need to create a incentive plan. Now this retail store has what? It has a sales manager to whom all the sales people are reporting. Then there is an admin officer and an office boy who are reporting into the warehouse manager. And then they have a store manager who is the head of the store. Okay, you need to create an incentive plan, and I will show you in what format you have to create. You have to do it in an Excel. So I'll just show you how you need to do it. And okay, we are 4 people, so it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So can you see this Excel sheet, guys? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all four of you will be, so you don't have to be in a breakout room. I think you can actually, I leave it to Vilma. So what you need to do is you will have to open a Excel sheet. Step 1. What is step 1? Intent. So look at the case and read all the concerns with it has. So you want to create an incentive plan around what? Both functional and the HR aspect. So you'll have to say, okay, increasing sales volume, increase revenue, or increase the product mix. That is increasing of the sale of branded items or the sale of non-branded. So you'll have to list out all of those things which you really want at the functional aspect. Then from the HR aspect, you may, what do you want to motivate, or is it for retention or attraction, reducing the attrition? So you need to list out. These are the things for intent. That is step 1. Step 2, who are the people who are eligible? That is sales people, support people, how much? Then what is the percentage of base salary you want to allocate as what? Variable pay. Now at lower levels, you are typically doing a lesser percentage, and at a higher level, we do a higher percentage. And typically for sales people, what happens? You want to give a higher percentage of base salary. So like for example, for a salesperson, I will say, hey, 40% of his base salary will be the variable pay. Whereas for a warehouse guy or for an administration officer, I will say 10 to 15% of their base salary will be my variable pay. That will be step 2. That means eligibility. Now, how will you measure? So I told you in all incentive plan, there is something called measurement or metric. So you will have to write. So at level 1, predetermined. So if they say, for example, if they are going to sell 100 pieces, or if they're going to sell 200 pieces. So depending on the list of things you have written, A plus B plus C. So I can say if they are doing A plus B plus C, they will get level 1 of my variable pay. If they are only doing A1, B1, level 2. So level 3. So likewise, you will have to actually set up a measurement criteria. Then in the 4th, I want you to say payment. So will you pay monthly, or will you pay quarterly, or will you pay at the end of the year? And specifically, I want you to write this for motivation, for retention or attraction. So I want you to ensure that is it the payout, is it monthly, or is it the end of the year, or is it quarterly? And then what is it for? Is it for motivation or is it for retention? So while you actually work at it, I will also help you all, guys. So all of you, I want you all to open your Excel sheet, one of you, just as the way you've been doing the assignment, and work on this. I will quickly open that slide. Can you just take a picture of this so that it becomes easy for you guys? Take a picture of this. Have you?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just move it up as well. Okay. So that it becomes very clear for you. Okay. Now, can I go to the case study so that you can take a picture of that as well?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. You can take a picture of this as well. So you have about 40 minutes for this exercise. Okay. So So do you want to put them into a breakout room, Wilma, or will they work like this?
It would be fine, ma'am. Just 4
Fine.
participants we can do
Individually.
Okay, fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So who is going to lead so that I'll just stop this sharing. Yeah. So if you can, who is going to lead?
I think Amar sir can do that.
So who is it, Amar, or who is it? Who is the person who is going to? You need to work as a group. You will have to open your Excel, put it on the screen for the others to also see. You have to share it. Just like the way you already.
Yeah, hi, this is Amar. I'll share my screen and I'll be leading it.
Sure. Yeah. Good. Great.
That's okay for all.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll be there to
Fine,
help you
it's
all.
fine.
No worries. Okay. So start with step 1. What is the intent? Read the case and look at what are the issues. So from the functional aspect and also from the HR aspect. Guys, you can actually write to increase the non-branded sales, right? So that means you'll have a product mix of both branded and non-branded where you want to increase non-branded. You can just write simply to increase the non-branded. Not diversify is a different meaning. To diversify the product mix is not the right. Increase the non-branded. Yeah. Absolutely. Increase the revenue. Right. I hope the others are also taking part.
Yes, ma'am.
Reduce retention of what? Salespeople, super performance, right? Typically, you will say to increase teamwork. Then if you notice there is something called customer, you know, they're not polite, etc. That means to increase customer centricity or to make them much more customer focus or customer orientation. Okay. Eligibility. Step 2 is what? Eligibility. So list out all the people who are eligible for this. So if you as the boss, if you as an organization want to give variable pay, you feel that everybody is involved in this. So you have sales people. Next, go to the next one, sales team. Then you have store manager, you have sales manager. Then you have admin officer. Then you have, so you can actually write sales team, support staff, and write all the people who are there, office boy, warehouse guy. So you are offering variable pay to all these people. Why are you offering variable pay to all these people? Because you as an or the store know that unless and until everybody works and everybody is motivated, you can't increase the scale sales, right? Okay. Now, no, complete first eligibility. So in step 2 eligibility, these are the people. Now, how do you want? You have to do that predetermined measures. So how will you say, okay, for sales people, because they are directly involved, what percentage of salary, what percentage of base salary will you say is variable? So it will be high. Typically, a salesperson's variable pay will be high. So it can be anywhere between 35 to 40%. So you will write there. Not there. Next, you can put it as B column. I mean, in the next column, it becomes easier, right? Eligibility. Then you can say, so you want to have 40%, 30% store manager, how much? Admin officer, correct. Office boy, maybe just 10%. Great, good. There was another person also, warehouse. Where did the warehouse guy go? Warehouse manager, I think. Was it? Right, good. Okay. Now you have written this much percentage, right? Okay. Now next you have to do what? Criteria, performance criteria. Because that's very, very important. So let me say how you will work at it. Okay, performance criteria. So the performance criteria for sales people will be different, right? For admin people will be different little. So you will also say, you will have, typically if you go to all the sales, you will have just like level 1 will be the highest, level 2 little less, level 3 little less. You're creating kind of targets. If you do A plus B plus C, you will get this. If you do only A plus B, you will get this, that way. Yeah, good, good. I don't see anybody else. I hope it's only this person who is doing it, or everybody is. No, I'm going to be quiet for some time.
We are doing.
I'm not doing, so I'm going to be off. Okay. Yeah.
Nirmala, hi.
Yeah,
Amar.
I'm here.
So I kept the performance criteria and I also fixed the periodicity for the payment.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Step
then
4.
Yeah, the
Payment.
final, why we are doing it.
Pardon?
The step 4 is the reasons why we are doing it is because of retention and motivation.
No. Yeah. No. What I said, step 4 is, I'm talking about when you have decided, when you're told them that you're going to pay this variable pay, when do you want to pay out? Okay.
Yeah,
are you wanting to that? But the reason also, typically, are you doing this monthly payout for motivation? Are you doing a yearly payment for retention? So just make that. Then I'm going to do the, and then I will, when I will look at your case, I will also explain. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So once you are done, whoever is ready to.
Yeah, more or less, I think.
Yeah. Who is going to talk about it?
Yeah, this is Amar.
Okay. Amar is going to say, all right. Okay. Let's start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one, the intent. Intent, we have two categories. One is the function, the behavioral. The functional is basically to increase the product mix with more emphasis on more non-branded products, and also to increase the revenue.
Okay.
And when it comes to behavioral, it's basically to reduce the retention, to increase teamwork, and to also increase customer orientation.
So this, you have decided this functional intent and behavioral intent based on the case wherein you have come up with saying that hey, these guys are actually not doing well. They have to increase their sales. There is also lack of teamwork. There's also lack of customer orientation. So you are now wanting to design an incentive plan so that you can motivate these people and they will increase the sales, as well as you also want to ensure that there is less of attrition, better teamwork, etc. That's
Yeah.
your intent, right?
Yeah,
That's your
absolutely.
purpose. Got it. Now, to whom all you want to include in this, the entire
team, both the sales and
personnel in
non-sales
the
team. Yeah.
store team. So who are the people in the team?
Store manager, sales team, admin officer, office boy, and warehouse manager.
Warehouse. Done. Okay.
And for
Now you are also now looking at eligibility. Who are the people who are going to be eligible for the incentive plan you are designing? All right.
Yeah.
Now we have to look at what percentage of variable pay are they entitled, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for store manager, we have given 40%, sales team under him 35%, admin officer 15%, office by 10%, and warehouse manager 20%.
Okay. Now here I want to ask, I hope the others are there, a question. Now, for example, you have kept higher percentage for store manager and sales team. Okay. And lower percentage for, that is a lower percentage of participation of variable pay for warehouse or office
Non-sales
boy.
staff.
Yes. Now, I want to know the reason.
Yeah, the sales staff, the work of sales staff can be directly visible, whereas the work of non-sales staff is not visible. That's one aspect.
Yeah. So here, I hope the others are there. Very, very important.
Also?
Very, very important. Why do most of the incentive plans fail? For example, I'm going to say the office boy who's at the lowest level, I'll say 30 or 40% of your salary is going to be variable pay. Okay. Why can't I have 30 or 40%? Because the influence he can have on the increase of sales, you have to establish a clear line of sight, what I call it as, between what the performance and the amount of percentage of variable pay. Now, the sales people are directly responsible for selling, right? Okay. So if I'm going to reduce their percentage, they will not be motivated, and I will also not be achieving my purpose of increasing sales. Okay. So the sales team, the store manager, they are the ones who are actually responsible, directly responsible. So you have a higher percentage. But the role of office boy or the role of a warehouse, what is the role of a warehouse guy? Ensuring that the product, whatever the customer demands, is there in the inventory, right? So his is more of a collaborative indirect approach. So therefore, you have a higher percentage for the sales team. So if you notice, guys, in an organization, typically, yes, absolutely. Kundan says the direct impact on revenue. If you notice, mostly in organizations, why do top management have, higher percentage of variable pay, and it is directly linked to the organizational objectives or organizational goals, whereas at a lower level, it is only linked to his immediate work? Because, the circle of influence, you have a line of sight, but the circle of influence, the top management has much more influence on the organization goals, achievement of an organization goals, whereas at a lower level, you have only influence over the immediate, whatever job you are doing. So most of the time, what happens when we are designing incentive plans, the guy says, hey, but it is not within my control. So you are having a high variable pay and saying I can achieve this, but when it is not within my control, how can I do it? Agreed, Asif?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Here I also want to bring about another clarification. For example, Asif, there is a small, laptop sales, small retail shop. Okay. Now there are two people working. One is a sales guy and the other is the assembling guy of laptops. So the assembler, what he does, he actually puts in all the software, everything, and assembles it. And once the laptop is ready, the sales guy will sell it. So Asif is the salesperson and Amar is the person who's assembling these laptops. Okay. Now, the HR manager comes up with a great idea saying, hey, Asif, if you sell, 10 laptops, 10 on 10. So for every laptop you sell, you will get 1,000 rupees. Okay. And whereas Asif can only sell 8 laptops because Amar can only, a day he can only assemble 8 laptops. So what happens? He's highly excited. Asif wants to really work very hard. He says, hey, Amar, come on, come early, come in the evening, stay back in the evening. So he's trying his best. For a couple of days, he's able to assemble 10 laptops. But after that, Amar will say, hey, I can't stay back every day. I can't come early. Why don't you actually learn how to assemble also and you can only sell? Obviously, because Amar is not getting anything by staying back late in the evenings or coming early. He is able to do only 8, but why should he exert himself to do 10? But whereas Asif is getting more, if he sells more laptops, he'll get more variable pay. So in such a case, what should I do, Asif or Amar or other group? So in such a case, what do I do?
It has to be extended to both the people.
I have to extend it to both the people. That means my incentive plan has to be in such a way that, hey, here is it. I will say 60-40. So 60% of that amount Asif will get, 40% Amar will get. So what will Amar do? He will come early, he will stay back. He said, because I'm also getting something. Got it? Yes. So your incentive plan, depending on what is the contribution, you need to have, this is like gain sharing, increasing the sales. You'll say these two people are involved in it until they collaborate and coordinate and participate. I can't say I'll only give it to Asif because I need even Amar to actually assemble it. So I will design a plan in such a way that, that both tend to benefit out of it. Got it, guys? So your design of incentive plan, you have to ensure. So likewise here, you have all the people. Warehouse guy also has an importance in the sense inventory. If he is not keeping the product, then what happens? The customer wants something. The sales guy has done his bit. But if the product is not there, how can he sell it? No? Okay, the office boy, he is in a hurry to shut the store, or he is not even courteous, he is not even polite, he doesn't get water. So he also has a role to play there. So if you are giving him something, he is also motivated. Okay, done. Okay, carry on, please. Yeah.
Yeah, and the next one is the sales performance criteria. Where we said that for the functional sales people, it will be on more on branded and then the increase in revenue. So the first criteria would, for example, if they increase 30% more on the non-brand articles and 10% increase in revenue.
Absolutely.
They will get 50%.
Okay.
Similarly, when I say 50%, for example, if you take store manager, let's assume that his salary is 10,000. As per the eligibility, 40% of 10,000, 4,000. He is eligible for 4,000.
Right.
So if we achieve the 30% more on non-branded plus 10% on increase in revenue, he'll be eligible for 50% of the 4,000. That means he'll get 2,000.
Right.
Similarly, 40% more on non-branded plus 20% increase in revenue, he'll get 75%. That is 75% of 4,000, approximately 3,000. Similarly, 50% more on non-branded plus 30% increase in revenue. That is 100%. He'll get 4,000.
Right.
When you go to non-sales, it's 5% reduction in attrition plus 10% improvement CSAT. That's the customer satisfaction score.
Okay.
And 2-point increase in department service scorecard.
Ah.
Whereas 1% giving feedback on the others.
Right. Because these days you also have a scorecard.
Yeah. True. So if that is the case, you'll get 50%. If there is a 10% reduction in attrition, 15% improvement in CSAT, and 4-point increase in department service scorecard, 75%. Similarly, 15% reduction in attrition, 20% improvement in CSAT, plus 6-point increase in department service scorecard would be 100%.
Okay. What is this 5% reduction in attrition, Amar, or 10%? How will you do it?
No,
because it has to be doable, right? Yeah. What is this 5% reduction?
So when we say that what is existing attrition, if the existing attrition is 20%, I want a 5% reduction.
So who will do that? How will you do it, perform? So non-sales people, 5% reduction.
Yeah.
So how will it work out?
So for example, let's say the team of 100 people.
No, we have here 30 people. Or how will you work it out? Tell me. So who is going to do what? What is the performance criteria? Means 5% reduction in attrition is only the outcome, na?
Yeah.
What is that the person, I mean, who will do it? My question is, how are you going to implement it? What is it that you have written? If there is a 5% reduction in attrition, I'm going to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
But how will it happen?
So for example,
the people.
Yeah. So for example, when you take the team of 30 people.
Okay.
The when the entire what you call total number of 30 people are there. What is the 5% number? 30%. That is 5 people. Right? Now, if 5 people don't leave the organization, my attrition is going to be 0.
Okay. Okay.
So at present, my attrition is 10%. That means every month, 10% of 30, that is 3 people are leaving. Now that has to reduce to 5%.
So this performance criteria of 5% reduction or 10% reduction, so it comes under whom? Will it come under sales stores manager, or will it come under sales manager?
Non-sales staff. I kept it for non-sales staff.
Okay, you kept it for non-sales staff. All right. Okay. What about sales people? If they reduce, if there is attrition, what are you going to do? How are you going to ensure that there is no attrition in sales people?
Yeah, that probably have to be one more parameter there.
No, I'm just giving you a thinking point. So what will you do? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah. So let's move on to the next step, and then I will again address that. Yeah.
And then the step for the payment, we're talking
payment and payout. Yeah.
Yeah. For sales staff, we are making it a monthly payout for retention purpose.
Excellent.
Similarly, for non-sales staff, we are making it quarterly. It's basically for motivation.
Now, guys, listen. When you're talking about motivation, typically for sales people, you are paying monthly. So you have to pay monthly because that will motivate them. You can't say, I'm going to give you on a quarterly basis or a half-yearly basis. Are you getting me? So for a sales manager or a store manager, because his results will show later, so you can do it at a quarterly or half-yearly. But typically at a low level, like for example, a warehouse guy or an office boy or an admin boy, typically what you do, you pay them monthly, certain amount. You can say 80% will you pay, or even you can say 60% for motivation. So motivation is typically monthly. You have done it the other way around. Now, some amount you can actually say, I will pay it annually, 20% of the amount, because I want to retain people. Have you noticed some amount typically they will pay in organizations annually for retention? Retention is always not on a, you wrote retention at a monthly, no? Retention is always annual. Motivation is more at a monthly or a quarterly. Got it? The other way around.
Yeah, understood.
Okay?
Understood.
The other way around. Now, I want to ask the group, other than this is predetermined plan. What are the other things you can do to ensure that your people don't attrite, your people perform better or motivated? What are the other things you can do? One thing what comes to my mind is there are super performers. Can you give some kind of a spot award or the manager, the sales manager has the discretionary bonus? In most of the organizations, you know what they do?
They are
like Google, the managers they have the authority to give some kind of a spot bonuses to their subordinates, so that is one way of retaining their top people. You have done something, hey, this is a spot bonus, acknowledging you have done good work. Have you seen that spot bonuses?
Yeah.
Right, so that the employee is continuously motivated. Then you can actually give what? Not necessary that it has to be. So you can give appreciation letters. So need not be that everything has to be in the form of a design incentive plan. Like for an office boy, to keep him motivated, to ensure that he's very polite, he can stay back. You can also give him some kind of a lump sum allowance every month, right? A small amount, a token amount, which helps him to be motivated. Got it, guys?
Yep.
So need not be only, so in today's times, if most of the organization do something called the R&R, reward and recognition, every quarter they do. So you can also have something like, a salesman of, you go anywhere, you'll say, if you go to McDonald's, you'll say, best sales guy, best. So you can have all these kind of reward and recognitions. They don't cost much, but definitely go a long way in motivating the person, right? What are the other things most of the organizations have as a part of the reward and recognition? Anybody?
Yeah,
Best team, best sales guy. What else? And what are the non-monetary things you can do to actually motivate people other than actually designing incentive plans? What are some of the other things you can do? Anybody?
Yeah, well, I used to play around with the leaves and the office timings.
So support good work environment, right?
Yeah.
With a very good environment. Every Friday, okay, bring the team together, do some activity, or provide, right? Provide them with great L&D opportunities, give them challenging work. So what happens, it is not necessary that every time if you want to do, you have to have all the time incentive plans, etc. Because then what happens, employees get used to only when you give me something and then I will do. But if you are actually increasing the work environment, making it more challenging, giving them more L&D opportunities, then what happens, you are improving the culture of the organization, and thereby people, both. So these are all extrinsic giving incentives, etc. You can also create intrinsic ways of developing people, so that there is this wanting to really grow. So most of the organizations, I don't know if you've heard of, like Southwest Airlines, they don't have any variable pay. They create a kind of a culture wherein people actually, then they create all that L&D opportunities, challenging work environment, so that they are able to motivate people, attract people, and retain people. Okay. And one more word I want to say, this is called, what we call it as pay mix. In variable pays, depending on the kind of organization, depending on the kind of industry, what is pay mix, what percentage of base salary you want, and what percentage of variable pay you want. Okay, that's called a pay mix. All right. In most of the, like a sales driven organization, have what variable pay and low base salary. So depending on the nature of the organization, you have a typical pay mix, which is actually aligned with your compensation philosophy or a strategy. Now, if Kishan Prajapati was an HR head, okay, Kishan Prajapati is an HR head, and Asif is the managing director, who's asking Kishan, saying that, hey, we have to give annual increments next year, and what is the kind of budget going to be for you? So How will you plan your budget? How will you plan your compensation budget? You know how budgeting is so important in organizations. If you don't budget, you don't get your money, right? You agree? So how are you going to plan your budget, compensation budget?
Well, this will be based on an assumption that there will be growth of 5 or 10% in the next financial year.
Okay, 1 second. So let me use. So yeah. So Asif says, I will assume, and I will say there will be some kind of there will be some assumptions, and I will say there might be, a 5%. I will take into consideration some amount, 5% growth, maybe. No.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then what else? How will you do your budgeting for compensation? Because it's very, very important that your unless and until you give that figure to your boss, he is not going to then, none of them will get any increments or anything. So how are you going to do? What will your basis? How will you go about? How will you do your compensation reward planning?
One thing coming from my mind, then we can do periodically benchmarking with industries, similar industry, the market with geographical areas, so we can analyze and predict what budget would be impacted.
Pardon, 1 second. Somebody said something not very. Yeah, can you be a little louder?
Then I put in the chat. There is a certain issue with my internet connection.
Okay. So what you said, mention something. Anybody else? How will you do the budgeting? Compensation reward planning. So what we are going to do is compensation reward planning. How are you going to go about it?
Now we can do periodically benchmarking with similar position which we want to. We are planning for the compensation. So it could be a similar industry, geographical areas, with economical situations. So accordingly that we can plan the compensation.
No. So this is what I'm actually asking is your managing director. If you are the HR head, he is asking you, hey, what will be your budget for next year's compensation? Okay, your reward planning.
So here,
manpower planning, man.
So how will you go about? Yeah, yes, Kundan.
Manpower planning. What will be the ideal manpower for next year?
Okay.
And there its cost.
Okay. Somewhere or the other, all of you, you have given me points. Typically, if I'm the HR head, how will I go about? There is something very, very important. There is something called ECR ratio. Do you know what is this ECR ratio? When I say ratio, means there are two variables, right? Denominator and numerator. So ECR. What is ECR ratio? Anybody? Employee cost. Okay. To what? Revenue. Okay. Very, very important. Employee cost to revenue. Simple. What do you do? Typically take your total revenue divided by the employee cost. It will give you certain percentage. That is called the ECR ratio. Now, why is this metric, compensation metric, ECR ratio very, very important? Because that also tells you what whether your wage cost is high or low. Because if your wage cost is high, what happens? Very, very obvious, no? That means it eats into your profits. No, it eats into your profits. So therefore, in order to keep your ACR ratio in a manner of you have to, first of all, what do you need to do? Say, for example, I'm a startup. So I will benchmark. Somebody said, no, benchmark. Benchmark with similar organizations. For example, I'm a startup, I'm an IT company. What will I do? I'm an IT company. I will benchmark with similar IT companies. Maybe I'll say, okay, I'll take Wipro, whose ECR ratio is, say, for example, it is about 15%. Okay. Then I will say, I'll take TCS. Maybe TCS has about 18%. Okay. Then I will take Infosys. And maybe Infosys has something like a 20%. Okay. Maybe I'll take one more company. So what am I doing? I'm benchmarking with similar industries and looking at their ECR ratio. Now you will ask me, but from where will I get ECR ratio? Tell me, where will I get ECR ratio? Very, very simple. I will go to
total payroll cost by revenue.
No, so simple. When you are wanting to look at benchmark of other industries, simply go to their what? P&L statements, go to their balance statement, and then you will have the revenues, you will have the wage cost. You can easily derive, as you rightly stated, the ECR ratio. Got it? Any clarifications here? Now, all of you go back to your organizations, look at what your organization is. Yeah, typically look at what is your ECR ratio, and also look at other similar industries and see what your ratio is, whether it is high or low. It will help.
When I talk about employee cost, this includes both fixed, variable, deferred, all costs, right, madam?
Typically, if you look at your payroll costs, that also will give you. Okay. And if you also look at your P&L, that also will give you. Yeah, you have to take care of all your variable also, because what happens, you are creating a budget. So you have to budget for the variable as well. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. Somebody asked, EBITDA, is it related to variable pay? Now, EBITDA is nothing but what earnings before interest, deduction of interest and tax. It gives you a sense of your revenue. Now, why are most of the organizations having variable pay? Because variable pay is something which is not a fixed cost for you, because even your revenues are increasing when you are also incurring a variable cost. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody understands, go back and do this exercise, find out your own ECR ratio. Now, typically the benchmarks for manufacturing organizations is the ECR ratio is anywhere between, you will be surprised, anywhere between 4% to say about 6%. Where? In manufacturing organizations. The ECR ratio. Why? It's and in IT organizations, as you know, it is anywhere between 15 to 20% to even 50 to 50% also, depending on if your organization, depending on what kind of an organization it is. There are three types of organizations. One is operational excellence organizations. Then product driven organizations. And then you have customer centric, totally. Okay. Now, if you are an operational excellence organization, example, McDonald's, then Walmart, then what happens? you know, your ECR ratio cannot be very high. Can you tell me why? Asif, why?
Because they are product driven, here human play support role. Let's say, when McDonald's, when selling a burger, so the cost of the burger and all those is important. That plays a major role.
I know what you really want to say. What I'm in operation excellence, what the product or the service is of affordable quality,
the margins
lesser
are same.
price. So therefore, your focus is more on efficiency. Okay, efficiency, of course, effectiveness, and you are giving a good product at a much lesser cost. For that, what you need to do, you have to pay less salaries. Your wage cost can't be very high, because if you are going to pay very high wage cost, then it will, you can't then give a pizza or a burger at a much lesser cost. It's like, you know, now say for example, I'll give you Starbucks. How much will a coffee cost here? Quite expensive, na? Huh?
Yes.
Why? Because he is not just selling coffee like, what is the other operational excellence where you can just buy a coffee for a much lesser rate. He is selling you an entire brand environment. You can sit there, chit chat. He will write in that cup also your date of birth, your name, everything. So it's product driven.
Okay.
Google. In order to make those best, all those things, they have to hire the best people. So they can't hire anybody from tier 2, tier 3. That's why their salaries are also very high. So their wage cost will become very high, right? Yes. That's why their product is very high. Are you with me? So there is a difference. So when I'm saying in manufacturing organizations, if your wage cost ECR ratio is going to be very high, then what will happen? It will impact your product pricing. Now there is so much of competition. So when there is so much of competition and your product is high, then what happens? Your market share is going to be hit badly, because it is so competitive, and you have to benchmark it with others. If not more, you have to be, if you want your sales to be higher, you have to position it in such a way that you are highly competitive. Now, likewise, there are organizations in ITS where if they are product driven, then you'll have a higher wage cost, because your wage cost is going to be very high. But organizations like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, their wage cost is typically between 15 to 18 to 20, because they are more into IT services. They are not into product market. While Google, Microsoft, they are at a product development. So therefore, their wage cost will be higher, because they have to actually get people from the best of institutes, pay much higher, because they want better talent. Are you able to differentiate now? Okay.
Yep.
So that's the starting point. That is your ECR ratio. Now, when you are going to do, so typically what will you do when you want to do compensation reward planning? You have to find out what is your ECR ratio. And then if you are a startup, typically then benchmark with that and start with the figure. Or else, as in your, if you are already an existing organization, what will you look at? You will look at what was your last year. Won't you look at what was your last year budget? What did you actually spend last year? What was your compensation pool? You will go by that figure, right?
Yes.
So, for example, here, X, we can say this is X company, their last year's compensation pool was 200 million. Okay. This figure is, you will wonder from where did I get this figure? This is your last year's compensation pool. Got it? This was your last year's compensation expense, what you spent. Now somebody said, no, if I want to plan this year, then what will I do? I will also look at the growth factor. Say, for example, this year he is saying you are projecting a 25 increase growth. So therefore your compensation pool also has to increase. No?
Yeah.
So it will increase by 25%. So it will become 250. You understand how I got from 200 to 250? So this is your compensation pool. Now, what are the various things you will consider when you are doing this? Now, there are certain things you have to allocate, no? So what are some of the things you will allocate? You will say, hey, this year, these are mandatory. Is there some kind of a regulatory which is going up or a government regulations? Like, for example, do you know that because of the wage code, a lot of things will change, right? So what will I do? I will then allocate some amount for my government or regulatory compliance. I'll say, okay, 10 million is for government compliance. Now, if I'm going to increase my revenue, that means what? I'm also going to hire more people. So therefore, to increase their competitiveness, to do some L&D initiative, etc., maybe I'm going to spend some amount. So I'll say, okay, fine, 20 million. Got it? Then again, the present variable pay plan is not able to attract and retain the best of people. I want to change it. So if I want to change a variable pay plans, then again, I'm going to incur some amount of expense. So I'm going to budget for that as well. So I said, okay, I will budget some 10 million. So this is all an assumption. Okay, taking into consideration, I could take a ballpark figure or I will assume. Then again, I will say, hey, internally, there is some problem with my technical supervisory people. So I need to really attract the best of the lot. Maybe I need to change a practice. So I think I will need a change here as well. So I'm going to incur more money. So I'm saying I'm going to incur 2 million. So these are all the things which I'm going to do futuristic.
Now, this compensation 250 million, that 50 million includes this 4 factors or excluding?
No. This is your total pool now. 250 million is your total compensation pool for the future year.
Okay.
Okay. Now you are breaking it down as to, because you have to go and get approval from your MD. So where all are you going to spend?
Okay.
In addition to 200 million, these are the new areas where you're going to spend. Issues to consider. Okay, got it?
Sure. Yes.
Next, you also have to give a hike, this year. If you don't budget, from where will you? So you are saying, hey, in the market for our industry, there is a 4% average or between 4 to 6. So I will give a 4% increase. So which will come to 8 million. Then again, to ensure that there is internal equity, I need to do some grade shifting. I'm going to incur again some 1 million. So you're going to take into account internal equity, your annual hike, and external equity. You have to look at the external equity, make market corrections, and you're also doing some inflation adjustments for COLA. So you're also looking at this. Now, what are you going to do? Add up all this, what you have done. Just see 10, 20, 30, 30, 40, 42. 42 plus 8, 50, 51, 51 plus 4, 55, 56. So what is your total? 200 plus 56, 256 million. But at best, you can do only 250 million. Now, then what will you do? So what is that you will do now?
So we need to make adjustments.
You will have to make adjustments. Now, will you make adjustments here? I can't make any adjustment here, no? Yeah, how much of adjustment I have to make? 6 million. But government regulations, you can't make any adjustment because it is mandatory. So correct. You'll have to go with that then. Maybe you can make an adjustment here, some amount.
Right.
Some amount you can do here. So we'll just do this. Yeah. So here, so this 10 million will have to be exactly like this. But 20 million, can you make some adjustment here?
Yes.
How much? So you can say, for example, you can make it like 18, no?
Yes.
Okay, that means you have now still 4 million to make. So again, you will say attraction and retention, new variable plan. Maybe I will say 9. I will reduce it, no? So I'll say, okay, 9. Attract, there's not much to be done, so I can't do much here. Then I'll go to the next adjustment. Okay, sorry. Then maybe here annual hike instead of 4%, 8 million, I will say, okay, fine. I will reduce it by another 1 million here. No?
Yes.
And again, I will keep going through. So what is the amount of adjustment you need to do?
6 million.
6 million. So once you have adjusted, and then you will freeze, and then again iterations, looking at all the business sets and say, okay, fine. So if it is impossible, then probably you will say, okay, maybe this year because of the market, so much it is, maybe extra I can go by 1 million, which your MD will approve. Otherwise, normally it has to be within the budget. So typically what happens, that's how you need to consider your, what is it called? How do you do your reward planning? You have to take, so what is step 1? Step 1, how do you go about, guys, reward planning? What is step 1?
First is business growth. Second is ECR.
No. First is what? Step 1 will be, we will put here. I'll do it here. Step 1 will be what? ECR ratio. Right? Okay. Then step 2 will be, one second. Step 2 will be what?
Compensation pool. Huh? Last year compensation pool.
Absolutely. Last year's compensation. Okay. Last year pool. All right. Then what will you do? Then 3.
Look
at
planned.
No. Look at what is the revenue planned this year, right? Because then you will increase it. That is very important. What is the revenue planned? Because then you will increase your compensation. So these are the most important steps. And thereafter, then you will consider, what is that? You will consider your government, your competitiveness, your attraction and retention, how much you want to spend more. Internally, you will look at what all internal equity, external equity, your annual increments, etc. And see, are you exceeding your budget? And if you are exceeding your budget, how can you actually then do certain kind of assumptions and go about? Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. In order to understand this, since you are a small group, let me give you a kind of a small exercise which will just take about 10 minutes, I think. I want you will get hands-on, and I will leave this also. Say, for example, your compensation, you are an IT company and your compensation pool is about 250 million. Guys, just write that. Your compensation pool is 250 million. Okay. And with the increase of, revenue planned, then your present compensation pool will become about 325. All right. 325, 250 and 325. I want you to generally look at some issues and create a small plan like this, just as the way you have seen, I've taken issues under consideration. Quickly, can you let me annotate? Yeah, I want you to do the similar exercise quickly like this. Okay. All right. Small group. So I gave you 2 figures. What is it? Compensation pool, and also after the revenue has been planned, how much it is going to be? 325. So I think there are just 4 or 5 people. So please, and this time I want somebody else to take the lead. Last time I think it was Amar who took the lead. Now I want Asif to take the lead, or anybody else, because that's how you will learn. Okay. Yep. I think 10 minutes is good enough. You can do it on an Excel sheet actually, or even on a white sheet, no problem. Okay.
Sure.
10 minutes should be good enough. Yeah. So let me see what's the time, and so that you know exactly. Yeah, guys, 10 minutes. So you should be back by say 5:25. All right.
All right. Yeah.
It's very easy. Yeah. You know what you have to do?
Yep. So we
I
have
have
to.
given you the compensation pool. I have also given you the present compensation, what it could be. So I want you to list out all the things and allocate and see if where are you going to put how much of money, and then do the budget planning. Yeah. So who wants to show first?
I will.
Yeah, please. Is that Asif who's wanting to show? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see my screen, ma'am?
Great. Yeah.
So here the compensation pool is 250 million.
Great.
And revenue plan is which is 25%. Sorry.
So therefore, I've not given you the percentage. So therefore, because of that, you have 325 million for the present. Done.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So now this is a excess of like 75 million that we have to factor in. Out
So
of
at
that,
a level, yeah. So at a level 1, you are factoring in, say, which is very important. You are taking into consideration any changes in the compliances, regulations, etc., which are mandatory. You have no other choice. So you will incur this much. Got it?
Right. So that's 20 million. And for new employee compensation to new employees, it is 10 million.
So you are hiring new employees because you are planning a revenue, and you are also increasing your workforce by maybe 5%, 10%, 15%. So obviously the compensation is going to increase. So you are planning for 10 million. Great.
Right, ma'am. And to retain top talent in the organization, we are spending 5 million.
Right. So you are changing certain things. There are some attraction and retention plans. It could be incentive plans. It could be some kind of other variables, bonuses you want to give. You are budgeting 5 million. Good.
Right. And to attract people with niche skills, investing like 3 million.
Right. So you are saying I will again give about 3 million. All right.
And total annual increment is 25 million group level.
Okay. Some certain percentage, average hike of maybe 3%, 4% as per the market, whatever they have stated. So you're giving the average hike, right?
Yes. So then internal equity, like we realized that there should be some kind of correction.
If you recall, when I talked about internal equity, there could be salary compressions. You heard I use that word salary compression, right? That means people who are doing the same job internally are getting much salary, lesser salary as in compared to those you are actually hiring. No?
Right.
So obviously you have to make changes, etc., etc. So you are saying, oh, this is the best time to make some changes. And so you are also doing that. You are spending some amount. Okay.
Right. And market corrections for.
Obviously you have to give market corrections also because market keeps fluctuating. So you are giving something. And then COLA, etc. have taken care, inflation. Good. Okay. Great. So I'm looking at all the issues, whether you have taken all the issues which have to be taken when you are doing the budget planning. All right. So how much does this total up to?
75.
75.
Okay. So you have actually, you have tried to fit it into your budget. Huh?
Correct. Correct. Initially, I had
no second level iteration at all.
No. When I took it initially, it was not matching it, and I made some changes based on the importance.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you've got a sense of it. Great. Okay, great. Good work. I'm really happy. Now, quick, short time you have managed to really comprehend it. Yeah. Can we have the other person? Kishan, are you there? I can see you that you have put in your attendance. Are you there, Kishan?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't miss
you are having a challenge, I can see.
Yes,
huh?
yes.
No problem. But as long as you are there and you are able to hear me, that's good enough. Okay, let's have the next person. Amar. I know Amar is around. Yeah.
Yeah, let me share my screen. I think I made a very simple structure.
Are you having a challenge sharing screen?
Is it visible?
Yeah, visible, very much visible.
So they can compensate existing compensation 300 and expected revenue was 350.
Okay.
So 50 millions.
Huh.
Okay, so I taken statutory 8 million. Increments around 20 millions. Bonus or variable pay around
Increments. Increments, you said 20 million. That seems to be the highest here. So you are giving a very average hike, or what is it? Much?
Higher hike, yeah.
Okay.
And then
bonus
or variable pay.
Okay.
I kept around 10.
Okay. New hires.
And then market corrections.
Etc. Okay. This is the first time this you are actually using up lesser than what has been expected.
Yeah.
You can still use up one more.
1 more million. Yes.
But you have been very, very frugal.
Yeah.
So you are keeping that, sometimes what happens, HR people
a buffer.
Because you never know during the year some emergency comes up somewhere, something. So you have to
the buffer.
Yeah. You have kept it as a buffer.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So typically when you are doing a total reward planning, you have to take into consideration internal equity, external equity, individual equity, that is variable pay, then statutory, right? So these are some of the L&D. If you are doing some L&D work and you have to actually upgrade your people, so unless and until you budget it, then you will not be able to. Okay.
No, this is only, this is manpower budgeting or only compensation budgeting? Because
no, this is more of compensation reward planning.
Okay. But because in manpower budgeting, anyway, will take L&D budget, right? So here also we should mention it.
No, some amount of it you can actually budget. Your upgrading skills, supervisor stuff and all that. Understood. This is your compensation reward planning.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else, guys? Good work, Amar. Good work. Anybody who's able to show and who can share? Deepesh?
Yeah, ma'am. 2 minutes. I'm doing it. Sorry, I was in a call, so I wasn't able to. Yeah,
no problem. Very important to get the concept, and that is why I insist. It's a small group, so you can afford to at least show me and work through. So Kundan is having a problem. Kishan is having a challenge. Then who else? Who else is here? Yeah, is that Deepesh going to be there now? Okay.
Yeah, almost done, ma'am. Just going to share.
No problem. I don't want to push you like that. So Asif, are you in Hyderabad or are you in Vizag now?
Asif, you're on mute.
Asif on mute. Amar, where are you?
I am based out of Bangalore.
Bangalore, okay.
Yeah, but I am from Vizag.
So are you putting in, using this in all these sessions, whatever we have done in your organization?
Yeah, I mean, at present I'm in consulting. So basically I look after PMS consulting.
You are into consulting, is it? Okay.
Yeah, as of now I'm in consulting.
Okay. Okay. So consulting for small organizations, big organizations?
Basically SMEs.
Okay, good. So located out of Bangalore?
Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai.
Okay, okay. So right now we are doing performance consulting.
Yeah, performance management and L&D and R&R.
And reward and recognition also.
Yeah.
Good, great.
I'm Deepesh. I have shared it.
Yeah. Huh.
Is it viewable?
Yeah, I can see that.
What time I have done it?
So when you use statutory, so I understand. So annual increments, okay. Bonuses, okay. What are new joiners? Under new joiners, what is it? Is it for, people who will join? So the
in between period. Yes, in between period after the financial years.
Okay, fine. Market corrections, employee benefits. Okay. So you are, so what is the amount, total amount? 47. Huh?
Yeah. Below
and
the
you are entitled for how much?
300. I am below the 3 millions of budget is with me.
So you are still giving less, is it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Your MD will take back that 3, then he will say, okay, fine. Huh?
He will give it to me, ma'am.
He won't give it to you. He'll say, okay, good. You are doing with much less.
Yes.
All right. Okay. What was more important is what kind of issues will you take into consideration and how will you do the allocation? Because here it was easy, but when you actually look at, you'll have to look at your payroll and then total up your increments, even the bonuses. So it may not be so easy at that point of time because you'll be looking at hard numbers, right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So, and then making corrections at every level, that's also not easy. Okay. But
yes.
Then you have a fair idea about how to go about it. All
yes.
right, guys. All right. Okay. Thank you, Deepesh.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Now the last item is called benefit planning, which is really very important in organization. We talked about the kind of benefits. So typically, well, I didn't know. Typically, how do we plan benefits? How do we plan benefits in an organization? How are benefits given, guys? First of all, what are the benefits? Benefits are typically for the use of employee, right? Huh? So what are some of the benefits which you typically give you in your organization? Let us just list out some of them first. Yeah. What are some of the benefits which we typically give? I'm sure all of you are working, so you know what kind of benefits we give. Tell me, what are some of the benefits we are giving? Yeah. Can we list out some benefits?
Medical insurance.
Okay, I'm just writing out medical. All right, medical insurance. All right.
School fees.
Okay. Children education. Huh?
Yeah.
Flexible compensation.
Okay. Then? Yeah. Please,
Transport.
all of you are sitting on, you are enjoying the benefits of your organization. Let me know some of the benefits which your organization is giving.
Mobile allowance, internet allowance.
1 second. I'm writing.
We have mobile hardware allowance.
Allowance. Then mobile hardware allowance. Don't go anywhere. Just think about what your organization is giving. Mobile, okay, hardware. Okay. Then, yeah.
Life insurance.
Pardon?
Life insurance.
Who gets life? You all get life insurance, is it? Somebody?
Yes.
Okay. Life insurance. Then?
Dental and eye checkup.
Okay. Medical checkups, can I say?
Yeah, medical
It's already there. It's already there.
Medical checkup. Okay.
Wellness benefits.
Pardon?
Wellness.
Well, okay. Yeah. Can I say this wellness, medical checkup and all under wellness, huh?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. You just tell me what benefits you guys are getting here. Looks like your organization is not giving any benefits. Huh?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let us start with this question. Okay.
That helps to save the tax.
Pardon, let us look at this. I'm asking you a question. Why benefits? Why should I give benefits? Why benefits? That's a big question I'm asking you. Why should I just give benefits? Why not just give you a fixed amount of salary and that's it? Why should I give you benefits? Why do organizations give benefits?
Retention, motivation.
Okay, fine. Attract, motivate, retain, because benefits are very, very important. Now, when we are talking about benefits, now there are something called, let us just go to how do we design benefits. Okay. So when all of you talked about medical insurance, etc., there is one category called mandated benefits, statutory benefits, which you have no choice but to give all those benefits, right? What are some of them?
PF and DSI.
So you have to give something under social security and protection. So we'll start with medical insurance, right? Okay. Which is called that group insurance. No. Group insurance plan. Everybody has that group insurance plan, right, in your organization. Do you have? And yep. So it is mandated, medical. It is mandated to give health. And under protection and social service, it is mandated, PF. Then gratuity, right? ESIC. So all these are mandated benefits which you have no choice but to give. You agree?
No, is medical insurance mandatory?
Group insurance is mandatory, no? Group medical insurance.
Okay, I'm not aware of it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Group medical insurance is mandatory. And in fact, then we'll come to. So, but then you can also extend it to your, family members. If they want to pay some amount, because then what happens, because of the economies of scale, so the organizations now are helping the other family members also, because when you take insurance in larger numbers, then the premium comes down. Okay. So when you're showing the total cost to the company, you're also adding all that and showing him, see, we are actually spending in all this, right? Yeah. Then what are the other benefits you're giving? You are also then giving tax saving benefits to employees who are sitting on high costs, that is middle level, top management. You are giving tax saving benefits, right?
Right.
Like, for example, I talked about annuity plans, etc. Then there are another category called cost saving benefits. Can you tell me some organizations give cost saving benefits? What are they? Very common. For example, if you work in any Tata company, they will tell, hey, we are also giving you, you can actually go and buy merchandise or whatever from any of our, the Tata stores, and we give you what, 5%
Staff discount.
Staff discount. Or for example, if I'm a white good company, I will say I will give you a discount. Or for example, we will buy white goods or etc. When you buy in large numbers, then you can also get some discount. Or for example, if you are a finance company, you will say all my employees can get some loan at a much lesser interest, right? Or even if you are selling some merchandise, you will get at a lesser cost. So typically cost saving benefit will be that where you are actually then giving your own product and service to your employees at a much lesser cost. For example, Airtel will say, hey, I will give you 100 calls or 200 calls free. Right? Correct. Okay. Now, for example, Airtel gave 100 or 200 calls free. But what happens when we think, when you say free, but you also have to account for what? Tax. You cannot say if you are giving anything other than whatever can be tax deducted, you will have to pay tax. Say, for example, a company is giving you a car, but you will have to also pay some amount of tax based on the evaluation. All right. Now, for example, in your company, I'm saying, hey, I'm also going to give you a gym. I'm also going to give you some kind of a training, benefit. And I'm also going to give you another benefit. Now, I as an employee, say, for example, Deepesh will say, but I'm not a gym person, I will only go for, I always love to learn more. So any amount of training I will be able to attend, but I'm not a gym person. So what happens? Then that gym benefit gets wasted. So organization, in order to ensure that you give value to your employee, you are giving something called flexible basket. I'm sure even in your organizations, you are talking about flexi basket. What is a flexi basket? Anybody who's heard of a flexi basket? What is it?
You have a choice to select.
You have a choice to select. You are not forced to eat something, what is there. You can have a choice. So at every grade or at every level, what happens, other than the mandated benefits, you are giving him a choice of 4 or 5 benefits, depending on whatever he is eligible at that grade. Okay. Now I have a list of 5 benefits, out of which, and I also allocate the dollar value. I can then choose to have 2 or 3, whatever is of value to me. So in that way, what happens? The employee does not see that one of the benefits which the organization is giving gets wasted. Are you with me, guys? That's called a flexi basket. So that the employee sees value. Now, the other type is called branding benefits. Now, in branding benefits, he does not have a choice. Like, for example, Infosys will say, hey, in order that my employees, are employable and also they are updated with everything, they focus a lot on giving training. Now you have no choice. So Infosys branding itself as, you come and join us, we're going to help you with a lot of training, help you to work on various projects. So that's called of a branding benefit. What does Google say? Google says, hey, they brand what? 30% of your time you can work on your own projects, entrepreneurship, you can be creative, innovative. So that's one of theirs. So every organization will have 1 or 2 benefits, which they will call it as branding benefit. So why? They want to attract that kind of a talent, which, they want. So in order to do that, they do this branding. Can you think of some organizations which have some of the branding benefits?
Let's say Infosys has a project on
so
SAP.
Infosys typically brands on mostly, learning. So it focuses. So if you think of, it does not pitch itself as a very good payer. it pays only about 60th percentile or 70th percentile on average, but they brand themselves as an organization, especially for entry level 1 to 3 years. They're very good for training, helping them to work on various projects. You got that?
Yeah.
So every organization, why does it need to brand? Because it, like for example, Tatas, what do? Their branding is more in terms of, they don't want people who will come and go away in 2 or 3 years. They want people who are, there for a longer innings. So they say, hey, we give you those retirement benefits, long-term benefits. So we want, people to stay in for a longer time. So they say we will build people. We won't take lateral kind of, recruitment much. We take at an entry level, build people. So their branding is, we'll pay less, but we'll give you long-term benefits so that you can stay for a longer time in an organization. So when you want person to stay for a longer time, you will focus on more of retirement benefits because you want people to stay till that time. When you are wanting to focus on, the millennials, etc., they are not looking at retirement. They are looking at quick fixes, something which you get immediately. So they will focus some benefits which are very, very short-term kind of benefits. Are you now with me? How you actually define your strategy based on what kind of people you really want to attract. And
so this basically goes with industry or philosophy of the organizations.
Absolutely. The philosophy of the organization, the culture of the organization, and also the kind of nature of what you are making. You want young people and you will have benefits which are retirees. Do you think they will stay? Huh? What do you say? The focus will be on retirement benefit. They won't stay. They'll say, hey, this is not an organization, because you want immediate gratification. So you want something like, a spot on reward and recognition, spot on rewards. We don't want, rewards which will actually give us only at later on in life. Everything immediate. Their entire performance and recognition has to be very different. Their L&D has to be very high. So that's called branding, depending on your life cycle of an organization. Because you can't have the same benefits at a growth level. You can't have the same benefits at a inception level. You can't have the same benefits if you are in at a life cycle of the organization where it is on the decline. So your pay mix and benefits will have to change as for the life cycle of the organization. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Because what happens at a decline state, you may have to reinvent everything. You may have to become aggressive. You may have to diversify. You need different kind of a people. You want to attract different kind of a people. So that has to be, so your benefits, your pay mix has to be aligned with that.
Yep.
Okay, guys?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. So with this, we end saying that we have looked at individual equity, we looked at compensation reward planning, and we looked at the design plan of a benefit for organizations. Okay. Now I want to spend at least 5 minutes in terms of taking your questions, because this is your last session. If you have any questions, probably, I can help you with it. Yeah. Let me see. There's a chat and what. No problem. Yeah. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, ma'am, this compensation designing, it is globally, it is same, right? Like you go in any country or any organization, the basic template remains same, right?
So when you say compensation designing,
Yeah.
designing, right? You used a word called compensation designing, Asif. So when I say compensation designing, I have to work back. What will a design have? What are those things which it will have? You tell me what will it have when I'm looking at compensation design as such. What will it have?
So it will have basically like the 4 factors: base salary, variable pay, deferred pay, and
no. Design will start with what? When you work in an organization, design will start with what? It will start with the what? Pay grades.
Okay.
Pay grades or salary grades, right?
Right.
I can have 5 grades. I can have 10 grades. Pay grades, right? Now, pay grades will have what? A min and a
max.
max. That means every pay grade has to have a salary range of min and max. So when I'm talking about compensation design as such, so that means how am I going to design the structure of how many grades will I have? How will I establish min and maximum grade? How will I establish overlapping in the sense from one grade to another? Will it have total end to end, or will it have midpoint to midpoint overlap? Right? Okay.
Right.
So your grade structure will depend on the kind of jobs you will have.
Correct.
No? So you will cluster the jobs and put them, no?
And then,
and how will you decide minimum and maximum? Only when you look at market compensation, you will decide on min and maximum. So
correct.
A compensation design, as you asked me, will be the same anywhere. And when
right.
I say compensation design, it primarily means base salary only. One doesn't mix it up with variable pay. So a salary structure means your base salary.
Base salary. Okay.
That means which is guaranteed salary, which you have to pay. But then that is broken down into those components, and which will be a little different from country to country, because based on what? You tell me.
The local laws.
Local laws, tax. Because if I'm going to get a tax exemption here, doesn't mean that across the globe it will be the same. Dubai it will have different, US it will have different, no?
Yeah. So we need to master that also.
Right? So if you're working for a specific country, you'll have to know what are the tax laws, what are the statutory laws, because they are not the same. Typically ILO, but they will be same, like minimum wages, payment of equal, but they will vary in terms of amounts, etc.
Correct. But like in this Hay evaluation will remain same across
but
the
again,
globe.
Hay evaluation is a job evaluation technique, which is the same globally.
Correct.
Which you point method you can use anywhere.
Anywhere.
These are standard across the globe. You cannot change them.
Okay.
Only statutory will change.
Got it.
Or variables will change. Percentages and type of variables will change depending on the nature of the organization.
Got it.
But by and large, everything will remain the same. If you say a sales incentive, commissions may be varying, percentages may be varying, right?
Based on the product and company.
Bonus may vary, but it will be the same. Gain sharing, it will be the same, but percentages will vary, measures will vary. Okay?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Again, global compensation, your COLA will be different, no? From place to place.
Correct.
Because obviously the inflation and the COLA will change from place to place, from geography to geography. Yeah. Anybody else? Guys? Amar?
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Like in going forward in the future, if you have to get in touch with you, we can contact you on WhatsApp, right?
Sure, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you live in Hyderabad, right?
I live in Hyderabad. I'm actually leaving on 25th of September from US.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on a vacation for the last 3 months. Yeah.
Okay. I also live in Hyderabad. That's what.
Yeah. Okay, great. We can catch up sometime, Asif. I live in this place called Kandipet. Yeah. Amar, any questions?
Not at this point of time. I have to ruminate a lot many things. Probably once I go through it again, I'll get back.
Now that you are I get to know you're a consultant, so you can put to good use everything you learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys. So if in case you have nothing, then so this concludes our compensation benefit. It was wonderful because all of you are very interactive, very participative. And if in case you have some doubts, feel free to write or write to Vilma. And you can always approach us for any help in the area of compensation benefits. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.